What's going on, All-Max fam? Jon Mango here, online fitness coach and influencer. I'm going to walk you through my entire All-Max supplement stack at the moment, explain to you why I use these things, why I've chosen these supplements, how to maximize your results with them so you can level up your stack as well. Let's take it one at a time. We're going to start with the absolute staple in any supplement stack as far as building a better physique goes, and that's going to be creatine, okay? Now, in this case, there's various different, in fact, the cool thing about All-Max is they have different ways to consume a bunch of these different products, and you're going to see a couple of those versions here shortly. Creatine is one of those. You can get the creatine monohydrate, just standard powder like this, unflavored, or you can get it in pill form, or you can get, now they've reintroduced their HCl in pills. It's really up to you. All are going to be effective, but I prefer the monohydrate. And pharmaceutical grade, I've been on this creatine specifically for at least 6, 7, 8 years now. And the cool thing is this big tub, I always get this big tub, it's 200 servings at just 5 grams a day. You can take it any time of the day. It doesn't really matter, as creatine is not an acute supplement. It's a supplement that you have to load with essentially over time. You don't need a loading phase, but it needs to take time to actually take effect and saturate into the muscles. So it doesn't really matter when you take it as long as it's daily, okay? And 5 grams a day is all you need. That's nearly 7 months worth of creatine in this one tub. 1,000-gram tub, highly recommend it. So that's the staple, okay? Most research-backed sports supplement on the market. Let's go to another staple, and that is, of course, whey protein. Now, All-Max has, not just in their protein, but in every supplement I've ever tried of All-Max's. The cool thing is, at this point, I don't even bother thinking about what it's going to taste like. I know it's going to taste absolutely amazing. I just pick the flavor that looks appealing to me in the moment, but I know it's going to taste very accurate to that flavor, and it's going to taste fucking amazing. And that's definitely the case here with their protein powder, okay? They're probably best known, if anything, for their Isoflex protein. So, of course, that's an isolate protein powder, which is a lot more macro-friendly. I prefer this over a standard whey concentrate, though they have that option available for you as well. Because, like I said, macro-friendly, you're getting 27 grams of high-quality protein here. Basically no fats, 0.5 grams, barely any, and barely any carbs as well. So it's lower calorie, higher protein. That's the way to go. And I got the Lucky Jack cereal flavor because I never heard of that flavor before, and it just sounded cool. And yeah, it tastes exactly as you would expect, which is amazing. By the way, a cool thing about staying on the Isoflex, I do have another version of it right here. I was curious to try their Isoflex in this chiller format. So I haven't really seen many other companies do protein powders in a more juice style. It's usually a milk-based product, right? The flavors are meant to taste best with milk. They'll taste okay with water, I guess. But when it comes to this tastes a lot more like a juice. And this is the only flavor they have as far as the chiller goes, which is citrus peach sensation. Again, tastes amazing, but the benefit of this is that it tastes the best with water. So, you know, sometimes people don't like drinking protein shakes that taste the best with milk with water, but it's more macro-friendly that way, technically speaking. So if you're somebody who really prefers to just take it with water, but you want something that tastes more like juice with all the benefits of your typical isolate protein, then I definitely recommend the Isoflex chiller version. And that's why I have it. I've got 2 different versions because sometimes I want even less calories depending on if I'm cutting, bulking, etc. Okay, moving on. EAAs. Now, EAAs are probably, I don't know, my favorite supplement for some reason. You'll see here I have 3 EAA versions, or products rather. They have the regular EAAs unflavored, and they've got this. This is my favorite product of theirs probably at the moment, which is the Muscle EAA Extreme, okay? The reason this is cool is because it's obviously a complete profile of EAAs, essential amino acids, and it actually has a hydration complex and nootropics in here as well. So it's really gonna help with focus and stuff. Sometimes I'm taking this throughout the day, not necessarily just for a workout. Whereas this is just your standard EAA, it doesn't have anything extra. It's just to add to an intra-workout supplement stack, for example. That is what I primarily use EAAs for, and I do recommend the use of it for that, along with this. Also, this is just my intra-workout stack that'll never change. It's just goated, all right? In the sense that I have Carbion. Carbion is their intra-workout carbohydrate powder, which is the best one on the market. Once again, I've tried so many of these over the years. The cool thing with this is they've got a bunch of different types of carbs. They've got slower acting, faster acting, They got waxy maize, right? They've got clustered dextrin, things like that in here. And then on top of that, again, they've got even more hydration in here. They've got a different hydration complex in here. So combine the two. What you can do, for example, is I have the flavored Carbion, and what I'll do is I'll just add the standard non-flavored EAAs to that. That's a solid stack. Or I'll go with the unflavored Carbion, okay, if you can see that, and then I'll add the flavored, amazing tasting as always, Muscle EAA Extreme. I've got the Pina Colada over here and the Cherry Limeade, okay? So depending on what I'm feeling that day, maybe I've already had my Muscle EAAs in the morning. I'm like, you know what, I'll just go with this stack, or I'll stick with this stack during the training session with the nootropics during the session and all the hydration you could want and need, the carbs, the EAAs. You can guarantee you're not going to break down any muscle, especially when you're in a cut. That's going to be important, right? There's even been some data done on the fact that if you train fasted, for example, it's not necessarily ideal for muscle growth or retention, especially when in the deficit, but you can actually probably offset that entirely with the right intra-workout stack. Now, I obviously recommend that you do that whether you're cutting or bulking, because you're just going to reap a lot more out of every session by ensuring no excess muscle protein breakdown in that session, and most importantly is maximizing your endurance, your stamina, and performance throughout that entire training session. So this is just an absolute must as far as intra-workout goes. And so that's EAAs and Carbion, okay? Different versions of it. It's really up to you. I would probably recommend, if you're going to start with one of those stacks, with just the unflavored Carbion and picking one of the flavored Muscle EAA Extreme products, okay? It's going to have a little bit more bang for your buck. Now, we're going to move on to what I would probably refer to as luxury products. The reason I refer to as luxury products is because these are going to give you substantial and significant differences out of your training, making sure you maximize muscle growth, retention, and their foundations, right? Again, whey protein. I mean, protein. If you're not hitting your protein, why would you bother with a pre-workout when you don't even have a more important foundation in place? Why are you trying to maximize your energy during a session if you're not even going to recover from that session without? So the point is that there is levels of staples, which is what I went through. Mainly the protein and the creatine is the staple, okay? That should be the foundation. And then from there, you've got the next level, which is maximizing performance, which is, again, the intra-workout powders for the most part. And you can put a pre-workout powder in that same category as well. So let's go through that. I have the Igniter Sport, which I love this pre-workout because for somebody like myself, after a decade of abuse of caffeine and pre-workout, I'm actually a lot more sensitive to caffeine these days, and I don't take it as much. I can't go, back in the day, the triple scoop to the dome, not that that's intelligent. You should definitely mix all this stuff. Not to mention they formulated these great tastes, so spend the time to actually drink it the way it's meant to be consumed. Regardless, you get the point. Back in the day, I don't know what the hell I was doing, and I would triple scoop a pre with 250, 300 milligrams of caffeine. Those days are long gone, thankfully, and I'm still alive to tell the tale. So for now, with somebody with a little bit less desire to get this insane high stim sort of a pre-workout, I think the Impact Igniter Sport strikes the perfect balance of that, because you can essentially ramp up the dosage to be a lot more higher stim if you want, or you can keep it moderate. So one scoop here, and by the way, if you do one scoop, you're getting 50 servings in this tub. One scoop is very modest on the caffeine. It's only going to have about 133 milligrams of caffeine, okay? It's got some tyrosine, taurine, L-arginine, citrulline malate, beta-alanine, so it's got the performance ingredients in there as well. But as far as caffeine goes, because caffeine is definitely the main ingredient in a pre-workout, this one is going to be on the more modest end, and it's going to cover all your other bases at the same time. Now, if you want their higher stim pre, if it was me in my heyday of taking pre, I would definitely be going with the Impact Extreme, because that is a serious and extremely efficacious, clinically dosed high stim pre. Maybe the best on the market based on what I've seen and based on the literature. That's probably the one I'd go with if you want a much higher stim pre. If you're somebody who doesn't take pre all the time, doesn't rely on it too much, it's the way to go, and that's why I have it in there. I don't take it all that often, so that's going to last me a while. Okay, now that's level 2, maximizing performance. Let's go through the final level, which I consider luxury products, because again, there's no point in taking these products if your foundations are not covered. First with your nutrition, your sleep, your training, but then with your staples, and then with maximizing performance in and around your training sessions. Then you can move on to adding things to your stack that might give you that extra little edge. You're going to want to do what it takes to get there, and if that means spending a little bit extra cash for that extra 1%, even 0.1% or 2% edge, it will make a difference. It will be noticeable, especially the more advanced you get, okay? Now, in that level of supplements in my stack, I've got 4, starting with liquid L-Carnitine, okay? So great product, obviously. It's exactly what it says, and it even has a B vitamin complex in there as well. So liquid L-Carnitine, this is probably the most efficacious form of taking it outside of like injectable L-Carnitine. But I don't recommend that, because why bother going through that process, right? You can just drink it, probably very efficacious that way anyways. So I've actually started running my experiment on liquid L-Carnitine, and I'm taking it every single day before my training sessions. On off days, I sometimes don't take it. That's totally fine. But I will say that so far, based on the last about 20-ish days of taking this, I did reorder it. It's on its way to restock. I've been feeling really good. Now, I can't necessarily attribute it just to this, obviously. I've got all these things going on, my nutrition, I'm lean bulking, and it's been several months and so on. Sleep has been good. But I can tell you this, it's not hurting. So that might be giving me, I'm looking lean still despite being so many months into a bulk. And, you know, I might just attribute some of that to the fact that I'm taking this L-Carnitine along with some of this other stuff. So L-Carnitine, I would say, is probably one of the first ones to consider, because the efficacy in the literature is there to a large degree, again, in liquid form. I would consider this if you're going to now start diving into luxury products. Then from there, I've got Amino Core. So Amino Core is the standard BCAA product. Now, I think everybody knows that by now, if you're consuming enough total protein for the day, a BCAA product on its own won't exactly give you any extra added benefit on top of that. But if we think about things logically, there's a reason why in the literature, eating protein feedings split up evenly across multiple feedings is usually better for maximum muscle growth than eating all of that protein in one sitting, because you're consistently stimulating muscle protein synthesis and staying in a positive nitrogen balance. So frequency does matter to a large degree. And so if we're thinking about luxury products, this is going to help, the branched chain aminos in here, are going to help spike muscle protein synthesis at least to some degree. No, it's not going to spike it beyond what you otherwise already had it at, but it will ensure that you're staying in as anabolic of a state as possible. So I figured that taking this to supplement, sometimes instead of the EAAs, I want to save that for the Intra workout that day, I'm going to run on the Amino Core. By the way, huge benefit of the Amino Core is it tastes so good. This fruit punch flavor, it literally tastes like candy. Now, on top of that, to add to this, I'm even going to double down with glutamine, okay? Just to make sure that I'm absolutely maximizing recovery. I'm covering every possible base that there is. That's the purpose here. Again, if you've got a limited budget for supplements, you want to build your best physique, no, do not spend it on these 2 products. Make sure you got that covered first. This is when you keep peeling the layers back, right? So Amino Core, and then I stack glutamine on top of that, maximizing recovery as much as possible, maximizing digestion at the same time as much as possible. And now typically what I do is I stack it with one of Allmax's somewhat more recent products, which is called A-Cuts or Amino Cuts. And the cool thing about Amino Cuts is, as the name implies, it is aminos added in, some EAAs, BCAAs, but on top of that, it has some natural caffeine, okay? It also has some taurine in here, 2,000 milligrams, green coffee extract, L-Carnitine tartrate, so it has another 500 milligrams on top of this. So in other words, it's an anabolic type of a coffee, if you will, right? And that's what I've done. I've replaced my coffee, since there's basically no calories in here, 10 calories, I've replaced my coffee with A-Cuts stacked with this. So in the morning, what I'm doing, because I train somewhere around midday, around 1 p.m., so before that, I'm generally up by 7, I'm working at 8 a.m. is when I start work, and instead of drinking a coffee, I drink this stack, generally this stack, right? Sometimes, like I said, it'll be this stack, but nonetheless, I've replaced it with this amount of caffeine, which is 124.5 milligrams of natural caffeine. There's a difference with the natural caffeine. It's not caffeine anhydrous. It feels a lot less like a kick. It's not going to have you wired at all. So the natural caffeine in this, plus adding and making sure that I'm keeping the stack as anabolic as possible. Next thing you know, I've already eaten my first meal. Now I'm sipping on this for the next hour or so. I'm staying anabolic as fuck the entire time. And so that is, I've been loving this stack. It's got me feeling like the focus is insane, especially sometimes I'm going with the Muscle EA Extreme and I'm just dialed in. I'm locked in fully and I'm cranking out work like crazy. And on top of that, because some of this stuff, you know, I've got aminos, I've been anabolic all day long, I've got hydration sometimes here, I got the L-Carnitine in my system, I've got a couple of meals with a bunch of salt in there as well. My training, ever since adding these luxury products, okay, my training has been maybe the best it's been ever in my life. My training is insane. My strength is through the roof. It's absolutely amazing. I'm looking better and better. And again, I'm bulking. So I personally think that if you have the extra cash to shell out, you've got your bases covered, and you really want to prioritize your training, your performance, how you look, how you feel, and just ultimately building your best physique in record time, then I definitely recommend shelling out for some of these luxury products, starting with the liquid L-Carnitine, then going into something that you can sip on throughout the day at some point, as opposed to just your regular water. Make it anabolic water. And then if you really want to take it to the next level, have an anabolic coffee instead. Replace your coffee with this. There's your anabolic stack, and you're making a crazy amount of gains. That's my entire stack at the moment. Most of what I have on the way right now is refilling some of the stuff, and then I'm also getting in their collagen. Okay, so I'm going to start taking their collagen product. Listen, let's put it this way. Allmax is easily the highest quality supplements on the market, with the best, most efficacious doses, with the most robust lineup that exists, for the best prices. And if you want an even better price, you can use code JMango15 at checkout. Save yourself an extra 15%. Free shipping, usually over a certain amount of money. That's very reasonable. And next thing you know, the shipping is very fast. Like it's just top to bottom, the best possible way to go if you're serious about building your best physique in the shortest amount of time possible. This is what I use to help myself do that. And the stack's probably just going to keep growing, to be honest. So I'll do a refresh video on this down the line. I hope that you found this helpful. Appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.